All right, joining me tonight here at the big table is a veteran of the Obama campaigns, Julius von der Laar. He knows Joe Biden. Julius is now a campaign strategy consultant. Julius, it's good to have you back here at the big table. We've been here many times before to talk politics. Did you expect Biden to select Harris?
I think there are a lot of great candidates that he got to select from, but I think it was the obvious choice, not just for political reasons. I think they also seem to have some sort of chemistry. And so she's not radical. She is going to be able to excite the base. So I think she was the right choice to make.
Is Kamala Harris, then, is she a safe bet for Biden?
She is a safe bet. I think, first and foremost, this is the first presidential decision that Biden makes in case he gets nominated and actually gets elected. So I think she checks all the boxes to be a formidable president and to clear that hurdle. But I think just from a pure campaign perspective, she is a former prosecutor. She can bring the heat. She can make tremendous arguments and actually grill somebody like, Bill Barr and others have experience in the U.S. Senate. So I think this election today is about Kamala Harris. Tomorrow, it'll be back on a referendum over Trump and his handling on the coronavirus and the economy. And so I think she's formidable in actually bringing that argument right to Trump.
Biden and Harris's relationship most recently has been defined by what we saw during the debates, during the primary season. There was that one exchange there where she was talking about being a little girl who was bused to schools during desegregation. So take us inside the thinking tonight. How do these two put that behind them? Right. Because now they look like they're best friends.
Right. I mean, Joe Biden, in his initial email, when he announced the pick of Kamala Harris, said that his son, Joe Biden, had tremendous respect. They had a great relationship. And so, he pointed that out. But I think there's a big question of how to move forward. And you're right, every TV interview is going to start with that exact clip from that debate. And so there are two choices now on how they move forward. Either they say, well, this was primary politics. We're both pretty hungry. Kamala Harris is a young candidate, and she wanted to make waves. That's the one way of doing it, but I think it'll turn voters off. I think the better way to do it is to say, look, we had our differences. And, we stood for what we believe in. And we were divided at that point, but also, the country is divided, and Joe Biden is actually someone who can bring in somebody who doesn't just always have the same opinion, just like the country is right now, and he's actually that figure that could potentially unite the country.
Yeah, and I was reading today that Obama had to forgive Joe Biden back in 2008 when they were running against each other before Biden became vice president, and now we've seen here Kamala Harris, she's basically the roles have been reversed.
That's right.
With Biden. I want you to take a listen now to how U.S. President Donald Trump, how he reacted to the news.
I was a little surprised that he picked her. I've been watching her for a long time, and I was a little surprised. She was extraordinarily nasty to Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh then, now Justice Kavanaugh. She was nasty to a level that was just a horrible thing, the way she was, the way she treated now Justice Kavanaugh. And I won't forget that soon. So she did very poorly in the primaries, and now she's chosen. So let's see how that all works out.
So how do you read that, Julius? Is Donald Trump worried?
Well, I mean, he says he's surprised, but his campaign was up with a negative hit ad on Kamala Harris just 30 minutes after the announcement was made by the Biden campaign. So I think they're ready, and I think a good campaign would be ready. They pointed out that she is a, tool of the radical left, that essentially, all the, radical left-wing policies are going to be stuck into.
But she's not, right?
Which she's not. She's pretty moderate. I mean, you could make the argument that she's been a law and order candidate and a prosecutor in California. So she's pretty moderate when it comes down to the issues. But of course, there's a campaign tactic and strategy behind it that the Trump campaign is trying to frame her in that way.
What about Vice President Mike Pence? Should he be worried even more? I mean, he's the one who has to debate Kamala Harris.
Right. That's going to be a tough night, and I think it'll be watched. So a lot of people are going to be tuning into that fight. Look, she has been proving that she can actually bring the heat. She's a prosecutor. She's a lawyer. She knows how to make an argument. She knows how to, sort of lay out the bait and then actually execute on it. And so, they're going to look for it. But at the same time, people take a hard look at the top of the ticket. Again, today it's Kamala Harris, and that's the big story. Yes, we're going to be watching the debate, but in the end, people will make the decision based on the top of the ticket, which is Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
But still, can you think of two politicians who represent such different ideas about America than Kamala Harris and Mike Pence?
Right. I mean, I do remember the vice presidential debate in 2008 when it was Sarah Palin and Joe Biden. Different setting, but it was also a female candidate against a older white man back then. So I think there's some similarities in that regard. But again, it's going to be super nasty. I think this is already clear from the set out. What Donald Trump said, the nasty woman, this is the same rhetoric that they used 2016 when they tried to define and successfully defined Hillary Clinton. So I think Kamala Harris has got to be ready to actually take that heat. And she didn't do particularly well with some of that during the primaries.
What are you expecting next week at the Democrats' National Convention?
It is going to be completely different than anything we've seen before, right? I mean, usually during this time, the presidential candidate and the VP pick would tour around the country, have a big rally with a lot of folks. Now they're pretty much stuck to Zoom. And the same thing is going to be true for the entire Democratic convention. So I think it's going to be a lot tighter. It's going to be produced for TV. I think they're going to try to do a lot of biographical ads and actually tell the story of who Joe Biden and Kamala Harris actually are, what their personal stories are, what their values are, but also draw a very stark contrast to Trump.
Yeah, it'll definitely be different from the conventions we've seen in the past, that's for sure. Julius from the Laar, as always, Julius, it's good to have your insights. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. We're close to Election Day.
Yes, sir.
It's always good to see you. Thanks,
Brian.